Okay, teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. Great to have you. Looking forward to having you back for more. To my regular listeners, we are in some groundbreaking stuff right now. Breaking news, breaking news. I have the lovely Kimberley Blue, founder of Ardent HR Solutions, who is doing her first ever podcast, and she's here to talk to us the Move Swiftly podcast being our first one. And I got a chance to chat with her a little bit before we started recording. As usual, you guys are in for a treat. You know how we get down here. You know how we roll. We give it to you every single day. Nothing but the best. And what we're really about on this show, if you are a newer listener, is whatever you may be going through, whatever challenges you may be facing, whatever difficulties you may be having, we're here to kind of indirectly tell you you are not going through that alone. So with all that, Kimberly, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And like I always do, before we kind of get into your business and how you were able to build it and how you were able to kind of start it like there, what really made it so you want to start your own company, I'd love to kind of give you the microphone for a second to just talk a little bit about how your upbringing was, what your background was like. Because one of the things I was expressing to you before we started recording was I know people don't just wake up and say, I want to get into HR, there's a certain process,
Sure.
school happens, there's life happening. So, why don't you kind of dive deeper into that a little bit?
Sure. I'd love to. So, there's a time in my life, and you're absolutely right. You just fall into HR is usually what you hear. And that kind of happened to me too.
Mhm.
But there was a time in my life where I felt like everything was falling apart. I had lost a child.
Oh my
Um,
God.
you know, pain, there's no words for that. And not
Oh,
long after that,
sorry to hear.
which is pretty common, I lost my marriage.
Hmm.
So I felt like my entire world was crumbling, right? And I didn't know how to piece it back together. So I threw myself into my work where I was working as an operations manager.
Hmm.
And part of that was HR, but they really didn't call it, HR then. It was, hiring and
Hmm.
time cards and processes, right?
Right.
And that's really the place where I felt like I had control.
Hmm.
But, what I found was by helping people in this role, that it was also healing myself.
Hmm.
And just something shifted inside of me. It's like this is my calling. I want to make an impact. I want to be meaningful.
Hmm.
And I realized that helping others was what I was meant to do. And so as I navigated this new world that I was in, losing a child and being a single mom of three other children, I really realized how important it was to have a good support system, especially when they're going through something. Parents and caregivers generally don't even speak about, what they're going through for fear, oh, I'm not doing a good job. And that's really where my passion for HR really, deepened for me. It wasn't about the policies, it wasn't about the procedures, it was about the people.
First of all, my condolences. I had no idea that that happened, and I genuinely appreciate you being courageous enough to share that publicly because I know that's not an easy thing to do. And the one of the things that you said that really struck me was how this simple act of helping people is where you kind of felt at peace, where you were able to get over such a tremendous tragedy. Can you go in a little bit about when it comes to helping people, what kind of what kind of feelings did it actually bring you? Like, were you helping people apply for the right job? Were you helping people maybe move up from a secretary to a sales associate? When you talk about helping people, can you talk a little bit, be a little more specific in terms of what you were helping them do? Because again, like I was saying in the intro, whenever, anyone that's listening now that may be having a difficult time, again, she just shared something that was incredibly heavy. You may want some guidance. You may need a Kimberly out there that says, hey, look, I like helping people. And may need some specifics in regards to how you actually go about doing that.
Sure. I mean, it's a great question. Life is, messy. It's not just cut and dry, black and white.
Right.
And so it could be from, helping navigate what benefits do we have for caregivers?
Right.
What is out there? What resources do I have? One of the things that I love to do is help the veterans, the military veterans that are transitioning to civilian life,
Mhm.
how to interview, help
Yeah.
them with their resume.
Mhm.
Because when they put a resume out there, most typical HRs are going to be like, what are you talking about? What is this?
Mhm. Yeah.
And, I put in a civilian speak for them, so it could be as much as just listening, just being a sounding board,
Right.
or see what other resources are out there to help them. And most importantly, make them feel heard and valued and that they really matter.
Right. Now, when it comes to how you're able to, I'll kind of call it your bounce back period when you're dealing with what you were dealing with. And obviously, again, you're feeling very alone. You know, you have kid, you also have other kids to, yeah, kids to take care of. You have to put food on the table and stuff like that. Was there a specific type of person that you weren't willing to work with, or that you were willing to work with? Because again, you're at that stage now where you don't have your time can't be wasted, right? And if you're going to be in business, you're going to build your own company, you don't need to be bringing any bullshit around you where people are saying, hey, I want this, and they don't show up and no show. So speak on a little bit about who would make an ideal client for you, an ideal person to work with, and all that kind of stuff.
We all of our time is valuable. I mean, that's
Mhm.
what we have, our time, right? So
Right.
speaking about art and scheduling, I want somebody that really wants to be different, who
Mhm.
strives for excellence,
Yeah.
because we don't have much time in the world. So why
Right.
do it half-assed, right? Let's
Yes,
do it
ma'am.
all the
Yes,
way
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
and push it hard and, go for it. Because look, I always say a no is a okay, maybe later,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. It's
and
an
you just
on.
have to,
Flip
yes.
the letters around, it's on.
Exactly. So you have to keep a good attitude, definitely, understand that people go through tough times. But
Right.
what are we going to do to get past those tough times?
Hmm. Now,
And that
allow me
really,
the to kind of take you back a little, because one of the things that I've actually learned now that I've been doing this for companies, and I do similar work in regards to helping business owners find the right teams and stuff like that. I go back to my college self and I say to myself, it wasn't, this stuff isn't taught in the schools. It really isn't. This stuff isn't
yeah,
emphasized. And, as you're coming up in the school system, what was school like for you? I mean, did you go to high school and then college and do like the normal thing and then decide, all right, I want to get into entrepreneurship? How were those years for you? And then how do you reflect back and see how the contrast was in terms of what you were learning then to what you actually know now that you have some real adult life experience?
that is a great question because I did go to school. I did the typical thing, right? But I went to
Mhm.
Christian school,
Well,
Christian
what
church,
school was it?
Bethlehem Baptist Christian Academy, BBCA in Fairfax, Virginia.
It's in Fairfax, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So,
Got another DMV one out here, guys. Let's do it.
right.
Let's go.
So, Redskins fan, all Redskins fan, Capitals, the whole
Hmm.
nine.
Yes.
Um, but it's a little different because when you
Hmm.
get out into the world, it's not
Yeah.
the same as when you go to school.
Right.
And for a long time, I was actually hesitant of opening my own business. I worked for companies,
Hmm.
and in HR and operations.
Hmm.
And, I like the consistency of knowing where my paycheck came from, right?
Yes. Yes. Of
Um,
course.
so when my last employer, did some layoffs, that happens,
Hmm.
business needs change. I said, I'm going to do it my way and I'm going to do it now.
Yeah.
You
So.
know, I have a coach and he asked me, so
Mhm.
when are you ready to do it? I said,
Mhm.
right now. That's
Yes,
when.
and by the way, the coach has been on the show too. So shout out to coach. Shout out to the coach, right?
Yes. Derek Johnson, he's amazing.
Yes.
Having that supportive network though, like
Hmm.
that, when are you going to do it? I mean, you're talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it kind of jolts you right into thinking, I'm going to do it right now because that's the mindset and the tenacity that you have to have.
Right. Now, when it comes to the previous companies that you had mentioned, what was your day-to-day like? Because one of the things that I've learned is when you do develop a passion for something, so the way certain folks do it is just not conducive to the way you want it done when you want to run your own business. Like it itches at you. So what was your day-to-day like, and what essentially kind of would turn you off about the way they do things, and then you were able to build something that fed into that unique way, or some of the things that you would learn how not to do things? What were some of those things like?
So fast, there's always policies and procedures. And so you
Hmm.
had to fall into those guidelines and you couldn't really, there was no gray area to move to the right or to the left.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about navigating a situation, like I did have one where it was a caregiver having a very difficult time.
Hmm.
And there's so many things that could be done. Whether it's flex scheduling, which my last company did offer that,
Hmm.
but it really depended on the manager that the employee had, right?
Right.
And so you can be innovative and you have to think outside the box. And
Right.
so thinking about how I'm going to grow this business
Hmm.
is doing just that. Stop thinking that you have to stay in this box and you have to do everything according to the letter. You have to remember human resources is human, and
Wow.
you're dealing with humans. And
Yes.
so that's how you have to operate because when you get that buy-in from the employees and you're treating them like a human and you're helping them and supporting them through a hard time, what you're going to get in return is much more than what you ever gave.
Right.
You know, you're going to
Now,
get loyal.
has things changed in the it was like 4 years since a lot of things became remote, and a lot of people now are actually seeking remote jobs. And actually, I teach at this school, and there's one of our former employees actually left just to take a remote job because she had her dad, I think, had some issues, some health issues, and she needed to be doing whatever she was doing remotely. How have you adjusted to these times where now a lot of people are looking to work remotely, and that human element, that human touch just isn't there anymore? Because now people pretty much just see, look, I could do it virtually. I don't have to go into an office every day. I
Right?
could, do what I have to do.
It's true, but it also presents its own unique challenges because what happens is, and it happened to me, I was working on site and went remote for the last 4 years, and
Right.
you have to have a certain mindset because what'll happen is that you don't want to go outside anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
Right. Yeah.
but we're human and we need that interaction.
You
And
do.
so you see this big shift in more depression and more people more stressed out than they were before
Hmm.
because they're not getting that interaction that's very
Right.
much needed. And so what I did to combat it is have meetings and not really call it a meeting, just have a conversation. Make
Right.
sure the camera is on.
Hmm.
Talk to them about something other than work. Create, like innovative team building, if you will, because that's what it is.
Yes.
It presents its own unique challenges. And so you have to do things differently because the world of work is changing. And so we have to change with it.
Right. And when you talk about the world of work, you also mention, innovate, and we're all about innovative teamwork over here on the Move Swiftly podcast. So it's more than just work, though. It bleeds over into your personal life. So one of the things that multiple, myself included, multiple guests that have been on the show is when you get so knee deep into your business and it becomes something that defines you, sometimes your family life and your personal life can take a hit because you're not balancing. And in fact, we had a previous guest who actually spoke about how her husband had an affair on her, and she was basically doing too much work, and she took him back because she understood that she wasn't showing up in the marriage and all that kind of stuff. So I say all that to kind of ask you how do you balance your family life with now you have to deal with all these other people's problems. People are coming to you, hey, I need this, I want that. How are you able to balance the two, or what kind of tactics and tips do you have towards that?
So I'm usually available most of the time, right?
Mhm.
But always have to have a cutoff time,
Yeah.
unless it's an emergency, right?
Hmm.
And so just setting that time, hey, I would love to talk to you, but I'm getting ready to have dinner. Because everybody needs to feel important, not just the
Yeah.
people that I'm helping, but the
Yeah.
people that are in front of me as well.
Yeah.
And so putting the phone down,
Okay.
making sure that you make a intentional effort to do what it is, whether it's go to the movies or,
Yeah.
I live at the beach now, go to the beach, take a walk on the beach, take Athena, my dog, my German Shepherd out and play ball with her
Yeah.
because we can.
I was
Very
I was on your, by the way, I did check out your TikTok, so I know you love that dog. I know you love your dog.
Oh, Love that job.
All right. So, you were telling me before we started recording the actual HR firm and what it's about, and I'm not going to attempt to, speak on it, the name of it and the whole thing for you. So I'm going to give you, because it's a great name and I can't wait for you to share the story of how you came up with the name, what you started, the whole thing. So, just go. I just want you kind of to speak on the company. It's Ardent HR Solutions and, how you started and all that good stuff. What it
I
means.
wanted to I wanted to do something different
Mhm,
and reach out to companies.
mhm,
I know that there is a different way. There is an innovative way. Don't think you have to do the same tactics to hire people. Don't think that you have to do the same tactics to, have a progressive discipline. You can still do those things and still have a very productive operations
mhm,
by being kind with people and understanding because it's gonna go such a long way to do that.
mhm,
Ardent is actually Celtic for passionate.
mhm.
Um, and I was very intentional about the name because I am, passion, very passionate about people, but I'm
Mhm.
driven by excellence,
Yes, ma'am.
and
Ma'am.
so that's my logo, my tagline,
Yeah.
because you can be excellent and still be passionate about people and still get the job done. And so I want to show them something different and be able to support them in any transition, that's happening, in their business because it is changing, especially with AI coming in. And
Right.
that really was the need for me to start it. Let's look at life differently.
Yeah.
Let's still get the job done. Let's still work our butts off, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But let's look at it a little differently and see what we can do to encourage and inspire others.
So how does it actually work? Because there's a lot of business owners that are tuning into the show and they tune into the show regularly. Do businesses come and hire you directly to help find more? Like, are you like a talent recruiter for them, or do they bring you in and help you? Do you help them create a more cohesive culture within the work environment? Just kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Sure. So there's many different options. Every business is different. So if they need a recruiting plan, a recruiting marketing plan, I can certainly help them with that. So there's two options. I can do it for them, or I can teach their team to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They're the two options. Some just want someone to come in to give them some different ideas, and some want somebody else to do it for them. And I'm open to both. Also, training and development is huge, especially for either young leaders or
Mm-hmm.
even leaders that want to learn and just get better at being a leader in today's workforce.
Right.
So, policies and procedures, SOPs, handbooks,
Mm-hmm.
anything related
Right.
with HR, I can support them with.
Right. Now, is there a specific type of business that you're more targeting? Do they have to be established? Is it like one of those things where you're looking at maybe possibly working with some colleges to help them, deal with some students and stuff like that?
No, I'm open to all businesses. I've actually
Mhm.
worked with large businesses. I've worked with startup businesses.
There we go.
They all have unique challenges, which is
Yeah.
fun. Because for one, I set up an ATS system for them.
Ah,
You
there we
know,
go.
and the other one I did an employee handbook for. So,
Mhm.
it's fun to me to be able to see the growth
Mhm.
and see the end result of it. And then I have some that are monthly. Every month I'll do some training and
Ah,
development
nice.
engage, employee engagement, things of that nature. So
Hmm.
I'm open to work with any and all businesses.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So can you kind of speak a little bit about what's your overall vision? Like if next 10, 15 years go by, how do you kind of see this thing playing out? What would you say would be like your next couple years plan?
Say at least for the next 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
I want to have a group of employees. In my mind,
Oh,
it's 100 employees.
yeah.
Um, in the next 5 years, I want to offer benefits that are flexible
Mm,
and affordable, and have flexible time off for anyone that is working, for Ardent because showing is saying that, hey, you need to have a work-life balance and showing it are two different things. As
right.
long as the job gets done,
Mm-hmm.
then that's where that flex time comes in. So, just keep growing and keep supporting people and keep
Right.
showing them how to be innovative in their thinking
Right.
to do things different, better, and faster.
That's amazing. Yes. And what would be if anyone's listening in and they're interested in hearing more? what's the best way for them to get in touch with you if they want to talk and all that good stuff?
So they on my website, I have a contact us form.
Mm-hmm.
It's Ardent, ARDENT, HRsolutions.com. There's a contact form, and they can email me there or they can give me a call.
Mm-hmm. All right, and that will all be included in the show notes as well. So the final thing I do, Kimberly, to close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. You are back, I couldn't imagine going through what you went through, but you pretty much lost everything, marriage, unfortunately, tragically, a child, a husband, everything. Pretend that version of Kimberly has come into the Zoom room and you are who you are now, the strong, powerful business owner, confident, running your business, doing your thing now, obviously jumping on podcasts, even doing your thing. Pretend that she's here. Just speak to that version of you and give her some words of encouragement, and we will officially close.
Don't give up. It's going to get better.
Mm.
I wouldn't change anything else because if I didn't have the experience and I didn't go through those things and I didn't learn from so many great leaders myself, I wouldn't be the person I am today.
Kudos to
So
you,
just
man.
don't give up.
Yeah, kudos to you. I know there's a lot of people smiling at you. I'm sure your children are super proud of, watching you build through that and for you to come on the confident and not give up. As simple as that may sound, listener teammates, I call my listeners teammates, but as simple as that may sound, it's so profound. It's so important because this world, it's a very mean and that, I mean, you cannot predict the future. Shit happens. You cannot give up. Every day is a new day. You're never gonna see an ugly sunrise. I say it all the time. Sunrises are beautiful. You're not gonna see an ugly one. And when you see that thing, man, just go after it with everything you got. All right. So, all that being said, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.